first question. I'll have the second. He'll have the third. 3, 6, and 12 months of premium, respectively. So make sure you're ready over there.
I am ready.
That first question. Wilkerson going to start by playing a wooded foothills. Going to search out a plateau.
It's a curious thing about this Imperial painter deck now splashing white. Plateau no longer Legacy's least threatening dual land. Sometimes your opponent may be up to something powerful.
Us Goblin players, we like plateau.
Team Italia.
That's also true.
Zoo.
Here's a Goblin Welder.
Now, Goblin Welder is a 3 of in Tyler's list. Goblin Welder is symmetrical, and it's going to cause all sorts of nonsense to potentially occur in this matchup because Arthur is very artifact, graveyard, and welder-oriented himself.
And he has a welder as well. What year is this? I like it, though. I've always been a big Goblin Welder fan. I think it's one of those powerful cards that's just not seeing any play. Wilkerson going to offer up the trade, and Reynolds declines.
Welder is incredibly powerful.
Oh. A real shame this card doesn't see more play. That is a Sensei's Divining Top. This is Bloodstained Mire, and Wilkerson going to pass the turn back. Over to Reynolds, who will untap and draw for his second turn. Picks up a copy of Brainstorm. You see a couple copies of Force Will over there, too. You mentioned those blue cards being a big deal. He's got a lot of them in his hand right now.
Yeah. Brainstorm, access to cards like Brainstorm and Intuition, of course, add a great deal of consistency to Arthur's deck.
Seat of the Synod, along with the Painter's Servant.
So we'll see what color gets named here momentarily. I suspect it may not be. He is going to name blue.
I think the reason for that is because with Forcible in your hand, you can actually remove any card then at that point.
Well, the risk is that you're turning on Tyler's Red Blast, potentially.
This is definitely true.
I was thinking maybe he may just name green or white to try to lessen the impact of Tyler's Red Blasts and Pyroblasts.
That's true. So Wilkerson going to sacrifice a Bloodstained Mire, go get another copy of Plateau. Maybe we'll see him spin the top here. And it looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. So take a look at a couple of cards here. City of Traders, a Wooded Foothills, and it looks like an Imperial Recruiter are the 3 that he is looking at here. Looks at the hand, sees a copy of Simian Spirit Guide, among others. And he can figure out exactly how he wants to set things up here before untapping and taking his third turn of the quarterfinals. Looks like he is happy. Take a draw. Picks up a Recruiter. Does have an Ancient Tomb to play as well. We saw Wilkerson a little bit earlier dispatch David McDarby with some fortunate top decks, but that's what this deck is capable of doing. That's the thing.
A lot of options for Tyler now. Maybe he wants to go get Jaya Ballard and start working over Arthur's now all blue permanents.
Oh, now you're a fan of Jaya.
I'm
making fun of it a little earlier. I was here.
I will continue to make fun of it.
All right, fair enough. I can't stop you.
It's a fine one of in the deck. It's just an odd duck.
See now the spinning at the top here from Wilkerson. Doesn't really have a lot going on at this point. Looks like he may consider paying some mana here to cast an Imperial Recruiter. Like, you're going to see players tread pretty lightly here because this is definitely unfamiliar territory for not only us here in the booth, but it's got to be for both players as well.
Especially with matching Goblin Welders. I mean, that's all sorts of chaos, potentially.
How exactly does this work? Just going to pass the turn back, not cast the Recruiter at all. Reynolds going to take a draw. Picks up a red Elemental Blast.
Very nice with his Painter's Servant in play.
Another Seat of the Synod here. A lot of artifacts, and can Intuition a lot of artifacts into the graveyard to turn that Welder on. That's where things get sweet. The Welder interaction with the artifact lands is really cool.
Yeah, and Intuition's so powerful with Welder as well. Essentially, it's just tutor for 3 cards. That's why you see a bunch of odd one-ofs in Arthur's list. A lot of these are just bullets that he can essentially go get in certain spots.
Pyroblast to draw here for Wilkerson. Looks like he is going to take 2 from the Ancient Tomb. Now he's going to go down to 16. It's time to cast a spell, and it's going to be an Imperial Recruiter. This will give him a shuffle effect for the top. Also going to let him find a card, assuming this does resolve. We'll see if Reynolds wants to fight over this or not, though. That's the big question.
And nothing too threatening now to go get, in theory, as Painter's Servant is already in play. That's the one piece of the puzzle.
And it's just really strange to watch because Painter's Servant is symmetrical, so it helps both players. So now at this point, Wilkerson doesn't even need a painter servant. All he needs is a grindstone. See Wilkerson going to search through his deck. You mentioned Jai Ballard. There's also Phyrexian Revoker hanging out over there as well. So both of those might be quite appealing here for Wilkerson.
There is, of course, just the risk of ever tapping out here. And so getting expensive cards is a little rough because you can never really let your shields down in this spot and in this matchup. It looks like Jai Ballard is the call. I would be surprised if Tyler added anything else, and he's just going to pass the turn back.
Yeah. Just trying to figure out how exactly the games go here. It's really interesting to make it. This is so different. Here's an intuition. That's going to resolve. Gotta imagine Reynolds is pretty comfortable with his deck. Okay, the choice to play the more artifact lands and, you know, intuition, counter spells, it's a much different take on the Imperial Painter shell.
He's a little less explosive.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more stability to the list.
A lot more decisions, too.
Yeah. I mean, again, intuition with Goblin Welder is go get 3 cards of your choice. So he could, for example, here get Grindstone, Lion's Eye Diamond, X, and try to win the game with an abundance of mana in his Grindstone.
That's pretty sweet. Let's see what 3 cards Reynolds is searching for. Put some face down. Now he's going to turn them up. Let's see if he finds something he likes. Gotta imagine there are going to be artifacts there because he has Welder in play. No guarantee, of course, but be a little surprised if they weren't.
Yeah, you can tutor for one of 3. You can tutor for a 4 of in his deck, or go get a toolbox. Given that he has Welder in play, I suspect he's going to go get a toolbox.
And you mentioned you thought it would be a toolbox. It looks like it is. There's a Grindstone, a Mox Opal, and a Great Furnace. Wilkerson wants to make sure he knows what intuition does. It says, hey, you pick one and it goes to my hand. The other 2 to the bin. Interesting choice there.
Well,
the 2 mana sources.
Yeah, Arthur's just looking for mana and a way to win the game. Because remember, he can, tap one of those things for mana, replace it with the Welder. So
Wilkerson says, hey, take a Grindstone. The other ones are going to go to the graveyard. So maybe not falling for that trap.
Well, giving him Arthur can essentially do whatever he wants here, so you don't want to give him the extra mana for free. So it makes sense to give him the Grindstone.
Reynolds going to take a draw here. Is he time to make a move? Transmute Artifact was the draw.
Another weirdo one of in this list.
Yeah. Quite a few of them. You guys can definitely check out the exact list on our coverage page over at StarCityGames.com.
It's kind of like a balanced Tinker. It's sort of weird. It's sort of weird that it came first and then Tinker came second, because it seems like Transmute Artifact is an intent to make a fair version of Tinker.
Well, maybe they thought that Transmute Artifact is too weak. We need to make something completely busted.
Yeah.
And then ban it immediately because it's too good.
Well, no, I mean, Tinker was legal for several Pro Tours. It
that's not okay.
Dominated Standard when I played at FNM. I mean, they did not immediately ban that thing.
How about a blast? On the other welder, he's got to clear this welder out first. Because welders can target other artifacts. That's the big deal. So he can actually shift in stuff on the other side of the table. Can Wilkerson. Now this welder's going to go active. Yeah, this is going to be a delight to watch. This is it's so complicated.
Yeah.
So Wilkerson says, you get this, you lose your Painter's Servant. So now the blast is going to resolve.
I think Arthur may have it. He can cast the Grindstone, get back his Painter's Servant by exchanging a mana.
Blast resolve because the creature's not that color anymore? Why don't you say stop the game? I don't think they should continue.
So here's the Grindstone. We're just double checking here to see if that welder is actually supposed to die. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's possible it's not actually blue on resolution.
Yeah, that's a big trick here. Like the welder should not be dead because what it does is exchanges out the Great Furnace comes in, the painter servant goes out, and so then when the red blast tries to win, well, it's not blue anymore. The welder's red, so the welder should stay in play. So you see the welder come back into play tapped, and now the grindstone's placed in the stack, and that resolves. So now the follow-up play is going to be a transmute artifact. Yeah, he's moving in. But you might want to counter this. Because what he's moving in, well, it depends on what he's moving in for, right?
Yeah, well, if he's going and getting Lion's Eye Diamond here, Tyler definitely wants to wait.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it's his whole hand.
Uh-huh. So he's going to sacrifice this. I don't know, this is interesting. He could get punished here.
Oh, there's a lot of danger here.
Yeah, I think he dies. Because he transmutes artifacts for this. He welds in Painter Servant off an artifact, but he names like orange.
Yeah.
He just doesn't name blue.
Right. And then the Pyroblast offers no protection.
Yeah. And that's the big problem here. So, okay, so he gets the LED. He's got 2 Force Wolves in his hand anyway, along with the blue card, but I don't think he needs them. Because now what he does is is he just going to pass? Interesting. I think he's safe, especially with the welder tapped.
This is a good window to go for it here.
Yeah, he's going to activate here. He's going to activate the LED.
And sometimes, these painter lists occasionally play Lightning Bolt, but he has Tyler's deck list. He knows there's no bolts.
Yep. Working with great information. So activate LED. He's going to activate Grindstone. With Grindstone on the stack, he's going to weld. He says, I'm going to weld out this Seed of the Side Nod, weld in my Painter Servant. And the only thing that's important here is what color he names. And if it's not blue, he's okay. So we'll see what color he names here. You see, Tyler wants to make sure he knows exactly what's happening. And did he name blue?
Doesn't look that way if he's topping.
Mm-hmm. He's going to spin here. Looks like this maybe with this on the stack. And don't forget, the exchange is all one motion.
Right.
Yeah, it's not like, the seat comes out and then is it okay if the welder comes in? Nah, it's not how that works.
Right.
It happens all at once. Interesting. So now the weld's going to happen. As Painter Servant comes into play, he gets the name and color. And he's going to name black. Yeah, and that does it. Yeah.
And I actually like Tyler using the Sensei's Divining Top there to tap out because it's possible he was trying to induce Arthur to just, name blue
I see what you're
out
saying.
of habit.
Okay.
Tyler had Simeon Spirit Guide plus a red blast in hand.
Yeah.
So if he's able to kind of trick Arthur there into naming some other color by tapping out, Tyler can win the game from there. So I think that top activation was to try to deceive Arthur into saying, oh, yeah, the shields are down, name blue like you always do. When in reality, Tyler had an answer.
Again, with this painted stone deck that Reynolds is playing, you can tell that, there's some complicated decisions. Coming to that line of play and knowing that it's good to go, you got to be pretty experienced with this deck.
Yeah, it is tough.
Yeah. Back to the booth we come, because it is trivia time, my friends. 3 months are headed your way, assuming that you can get this question right that Patrick's going to ask you. Hashtag SCG Premium at SCG Live on Twitter. So we do make our way through our premium giveaways. This one's for 3 months. We'll announce the winner at the conclusion of our quarterfinals here. And don't forget, all contests and giveaways are through Star City Games and only through us. Has nothing to do with Twitch.tv. Patrick, what you got?
So there's a lot of one of an Arthur Reynolds blue-red Painter Stone deck. Most of them are artifacts for him to intuition for, like you just saw. He has 1 copy in his main deck of a blue sorcery from Antiquities. It's an odd one. It's an odd duck. We saw it in that first game. Name that card.
And if you can, hashtag SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at SCG Live. And again, we will select one winner from the group of winners. We'll announce that winner at the conclusion of our quarterfinal round. But we're going to head back down over to that match. Take a look at some sideboards between Wilkerson and his opponent, Arthur Reynolds. I got no idea what's going to happen now. All right, here we go. Tyler Wilkerson. And we've got Ensnaring Bridge, Aethersworn Cannons, 4 Firebolts, a Koth of the Hammer, a Manic Vandal, a Ratchet Bomb, a Red Elemental Blast, a Rest in Peace, a Shard Phoenix.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, baby. A Spirit of the Labyrinth, a Spiritual Focus. and a Trinisphere. Tyler Wilkerson is going deep. I'm going to admit, it's tough to get by me. Do you know Spiritual Focus?
I do not.
Neither do I.
We'll have that on the screen for you momentarily.
Shameful.
And then I'll let you know whether or not I think that should be going into the sideboard again. So I think he's going to want the extra copy of Rest in Peace. The one copy of Rest in Peace is Arthur's combo is very graveyard-centric. He's all about Goblin Welders. To me, what's really interesting is, does Tyler bring in his copies of Firebolts to fight over Goblin Welder? Because Arthur's deck is hubbed so much around that card. There isn't a lot of utility to Firebolt besides that. The only other creature is Painter Servant, which Firebolt doesn't touch, but he may want some additional answers to Goblin Welder. The Manic Vandal, of course, Arthur's deck very artifact-centric. Like I mentioned, the Rest in Peace to attack Arthur's graveyard to get rid of those Welder Intuition shenanigans.
On the other side, we see a Snaring Bridge, 2 Tormask Curse, 2 Chain of Vapors, 3 Misdirection, 3 Surgical Extraction, a Swan Song, and 3 Lawan Cephalon Empress. Anything you like there?
Well, I really like Lawan being set to blue, or Painter Servant setting to blue and then casting Lawan regardless of matchup. So that's super sweet. I do think that he's going to want his copies of Chain of Vapor just to break up what Tyler's doing. It's just a good piece of utility there. He may want Surgical Extraction as well. It's hard to set up, but there are spots where he's going to be able to get Tyler because Arthur has counter spells of his own.
Spiritual Focus, you should know this. This is Mercadian Master Rare. This was during your time. This looks like a limited all-star.
No, it wasn't.
No.
This is the first time I've ever seen it out of anywhere other than the 25-cent binder.
Whenever a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard a card, you gain 2 life and you may draw a card.
Take that, Liliana the Veil.
Yeah, jerk.
Take that.
Him?
That's fine. 4 life and
2 cards. That is nice.
that is nice.
You got to really go deep for something like that. You know what I need for my Light and Tutor package? I need something that'll make sure that if I'm discarding, I'm still okay.
I think I'd rather just go get a Howling Mine, but this is fine too.
No way. I'm not giving them any cards. What's wrong with you?
Their cards don't matter.
I beg to disagree.
It's just hard. It's hard for me to imagine the Spiritual Focus is that good when most of these decks have Abrupt Decay that you want to bring in the discard spells against. But, I appreciate the style points, if nothing else.
Update for you guys really quick on our backup matches. Andrew Snyder, Blue Red Delver up a game over Alex Wyatt playing Miracles. We got Benjamin Ball up a game with Storm over Josh Hand. I don't think we're too surprised by that.
Not really. I mean, again, it's just an issue of the number of discard spells he finds. But he has to find them really fast because the Storm deck can kill, of course, very quickly.
Does not waste any time, that's for sure.
I've been killed on the first turn of a top 8 of a Legacy Open. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Were you trying to burn them?
Yes.
That was your first mistake.
I mean, I was in the top 8, in fairness.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Bloodstained Mire to begin things here for Tyler Wilkerson before passing the turn back. He has a Trinisphere in his hand along with the City of Traders and some other fun toys. Reynolds going to play a Scalding Tarn. See if he has a turn 1 play here.
His hand definitely looks light on mana here. He may just have to brainstorm in search for lands. And you can see Tyler is definitely going with Welder Overload here, trying to hit that card out with both Firebolt and Rest in Peace in hand.
The old sideboard Firebolts. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Bloodstained Mire going to get sacrificed here. Probably going to be a plateau. But we'll see exactly what Wilkerson wants to go grab here.
It's pretty safe, no wasteland, no non-basic land hate.
Don't care if that thing gets blood mooned.
No.
For the most part. There are a couple of white cards, but not a big deal. Also, I'd be surprised if either player has Blood Moon now. Doesn't really seem like an appropriate matchup here for that effect or card.
Well, Arthur has 1 island to go get. Okay.
Yeah.
Just trying to see if he could get cut off of blue, but
I wonder how Trinisphere works here.
Tyler, it does appear, has the Blood Moon in hand, so
He's going to go with Rest in Peace for now. And you said you like this card a bit here.
I do. Arthur's deck is very much leaning on the graveyard. It's a Goblin Welder deck, so Rest in Peace is quite powerful.
I wonder if we're going to have a battle over it. Force Will maybe, with a Brainstorm, maybe? Maybe he just doesn't care at all.
I think he cares. It's just he has a lot of priorities with that Force of Will.
Mm-hmm. Scalding Tarn getting sacrifice. Round's going to go down to 19. That thing is exiled. As Rest in Peace will take care of that, and the rest of the cards that do go to the graveyard. See what land Reynolds wants to search up here. Wouldn't be surprised if it's volcanic, and it is.
Interesting to see how Arthur's going to proceed from here now that his graveyard is shut off. Because his deck is not as good as Tyler's at comboing out if the graveyard is not a tool. And Arthur also is light on mana right now too, so there's all sorts of problems.
Reynolds going to start with a Brainstorm. 3 cards coming here for our Painted Stone player. You see a Scalding Tarn among them, excuse me.
That's really critical as, of course, Arthur was desperately searching for mana.
See the sign out there as well. The very powerful artifact lands, and you can't add those to your hand, Arthur. It's a Brainstorm, not a Ponder. So gets to put back any 2. Knows that he won't be able to work with his graveyard this game, so a Welder plan is not going to be a good one, at least for now.
Yep. Tyler's got that cover too with that Firebolt in hand as well, so.
So then a turn Brainstorm there from Reynolds. It looks like he's going to go with the seat. Any other plays to be had this turn? Potentially? Looks like the answer is yes, and it's a Painter's Servant. What's the color choice going to be is the question. We've seen blue and black here from him.
Well, he has a Red Blast in hand, so I assume he's naming blue.
And he's just going to pass the turn back. And he does go with blue. So that Red Blast is on. Maybe to take care of that Rest in Peace. We'll see what route Reynolds wants to go. Assuming that thing makes it through this turn. Wilkerson does draw a card. Looks like it's an Aired Mesa he picked up for the turn. Again, we know he has a Trinisphere among other options over there. Very dangerous to play a land right now. That City of Traders is actually working overtime.
Tyler's got to make it count if he ever wants to get away from it. He has a bunch of different paths in his hand, too. I mean, he can play the Blood Moon here as a Trinisphere. A lot of different things he can do. I like leading with the Blood Moon here as it does provide some utility against, you know, Arthur can't cast his blue spells, of course, with this Blood Moon in play. And it does shut down the City of Traders, meaning that Tyler can just start making land drops. Not clear how much Arthur ultimately cares about this Blood Moon, but if nothing else, it's upside for Tyler to shut down his own City of Trader.
And there's top. And just a passing of the turn. Over to Reynolds, who will take a draw.
So things are getting a little complicated now for Arthur. Again, graveyard still shut off. And no access to blue spells for the time being.
A little surprised to see Blood Moon in, but I mean, you know, the fact that it does shut off those blue cards is pretty nice. You mentioned just the one island, too. But then again, that Red Blast. Yeah, and there's a Pyroblast, too. He actually has to go after Blood Moon, which is kind of ironic. And he says, I see the sign knot's red, so.
And this is really important for Arthur, as now he can use the Scalding Tarn to go get a basic island, and now he doesn't have to fight over Blood Moon for the remainder of the game.
Yeah. I'm sure he'd rather just be killing that Rest in Peace or something else, but as it stands, with the Blood Moon, if you're Wilkerson, you actually got to be, you know, not thrilled with that, but okay, because you actually got to keep your City of Traders.
Yeah,
so that's sweet.
It's not too bad for either party, but I think Tyler was hoping for a little more breathing space here because his hand really doesn't allow him to do very much. He gets to Enlightened Tutor here to try to potentially go find Grindstone, but I think he was hoping for a little bit of breathing space alongside his Sensei's Divine Top to try to build up a better hand. Now with the Blood Moon gone, he has to act because Arthur's hand is unlocked.
Well, it's time to go searching here with this Enlightened Tutor. Do you think maybe he goes and gets Grindstone?
I don't see another artifact providing him a lot of utility here.
Could go get himself a Revoker to shut off opposing Grindstones. That's in play. Not sure if that one's better or worse, of course. A lot of options here for Tyler. I think it's really smart to actually make it all the way through the deck here before making your decision. And he is going to go with Phyrexian Revoker. With a 2-1 for Phyrexian Robot. See what he wants to name with it when he does draw it for the turn. That even assumes that he's going to cast it, but I think if he's searching for it now, chances are he probably does want to cast it this turn.
I'd be stunned if he did not.
So Enlightened Tutor is going to resolve. Revoker is the draw. You see him add it to his hand. Now he's going to cast it. And what is the choice here for him? Looks like maybe we're just going to counter that with that on the stack. Yeah, there's a red blast. Again, that card is blue because Painter Servant is in play, and that has a symmetrical effect. So get that Revoker out of here, he says.
It's not clear how much Arthur really cares about that Phyrexian Revoker, but if Tyler's willing to Enlighten Tutor for it, he has to respect it. And it also allows him to keep up the beatdowns.
I know that's what this one's all about. Getting into the red zone. Going to play a Great Furnace now, Will Reynolds. Again, those artifact lands very important for the Welder, but the Rest in Peace is kind of in the way right now, so Welder not going to do too much. However, Reynolds does have a Forcible, and he can remove any of those cards in his hand because, again, they are all blue because of the Painter Servant.
And keep in mind that Arthur does not have to win by using his graveyard and all the Welder shenanigans we saw in game 1. He can simply Intuition for 3 copies of Grindstone and just win that way. He's got the requisite mana.
Or this.
Or the beatdowns.
Yeah. Ever heard of it?
Yeah.
Gonna sacrifice Arid Mesa here, Wilkerson. Gonna go down to 16.
I like it. Give him a taste.
Now, with this interaction with City of Traders, of course, is whenever you play a land, not when a land comes into play. So the fact that he did search for a plateau with the Arid Mesa does not trigger the City of Traders right now. If Wilkerson were to play another land, however, that would put the trigger on City of Traders for him to sacrifice it. Justin Geary ain't wasting no time. 2-0, Deathblade over Fish. Jonathan Aiken with a really nice run here with his innovative take on Merfolk. And again, you guys can take a look at that in the sideboard with Nick Miller on our coverage page. But Justin Geary, that was going to be our backup match.
Yeah.
Through to the semis.
And I suspect that matchup's pretty bad for Merfolk.
Doesn't seem easy.
All right, here we go. Big draw here from Tyler.
Manic Vandal. Kabosh. We fighting over this?
Well, again, Arthur does have the kill here. He has all the tools. It's just, does he respect the possibility of a Red Elemental Blast or a Pyroblast?
You see Reynolds going to slide some mana over here. Might be ready to have a battle. What do we have here? This is an Intuition. Looks like that's going to get a thumbs up.
And I like this play a lot from Arthur because you have to believe that if Tyler had a Red Elemental Blast, that he would fight over this Intuition. He wouldn't just let this resolve. So I think Arthur probably now has a pretty good idea that the coast is clear and that he can go ahead, Force of Will this, and win the following turn with his Grindstone.
You said right at the top you like the blue cards in the deck. They provide just a different angle of attack and some durability.
Yeah.
Some interaction as well. Some Grindstones here.
Intuition in this deck is completely busted because you can either tutor for either one of your combo pieces, which is a 4-of, or with Welder in play, you can Intuition for everything, essentially.
Which is what we saw in the first game.
Right.
Yeah.
We're seeing both angles of Intuition here, and this is with Arthur having his graveyard shut off by this Rest in Peace.
Yeah. Wilkerson decides, you know what, actually take that Grindstone. You don't get that one. You get this one. Intuition going to resolve. And again, we know Reynolds has Force of Will and any card in his hand he wants to remove, because all of the cards are blue. Josh Hand, Benjamin Ball, Storm versus Dead Guy Ale. We're going to game number 3. Ball will be on the play with this Storm deck. Top 8's moving pretty fast here. Jeez.
A lot of fast decks.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So there is a Forcible removing Goblin Welder. And again, Welder, that's a red card. Well, it's also blue too.
And now Tyler has to keep up appearances that he can fight over this Force of Will because the writing is on the wall.
And hey, we don't know the top card of his deck with the top. That's a thing. Tyler does not look thrilled with how things are going right now, though. As you said, he has to keep up appearances. But I'm actually kind of with you. If he had a blast, he probably counters the Intuition.
Yeah, I think quite honestly that Arthur sniffed it out. You can't be 100% sure that Tyler doesn't have a blast here, but the evidence points to it. It's very unlikely.
Yeah, there's the Force of Will. Going to resolve on the Vandal. That may be Wilkerson's turn here. He's just going to pass the turn back. Reynolds going to untap. There are definitely some cards that can make it a check mark here, like a Force of Will, too. That's not what he draws. He draws a Blast. Not a bad draw. Looks like he's going to play himself a Grindstone. And will he go for it or wait is the question.
I think he's going for it.
I think it's fair game to go for it. Again, all signs point to it being okay.
And here's the other awesome thing here is that Arthur has a sack land he needs to sack. So that's another opportunity for Tyler to use a Red Blast in response if he has it. But Arthur has a Red Blast of his own. So even if Tyler Red Blasts to break this up, Arthur's safe and can go for it next turn.
Sure.
And again, it's just another piece of evidence that points to Tyler not having a way to interact with this. If he doesn't respond to this fetch land, I mean, again, you can't be 100% sure, but all of it points to Tyler's just keeping up appearances. He cannot stop this.
And Reynolds, it looks like he's going to sacrifice this Scalding Target. He's at least reaching that way. He made an attack there with the Painter's Servant. The question is, do I go for it now or do I wait? Because I've got a blue blast, or I've got a red blast, excuse me, to protect me for the next turn.
Yeah, I think that Red Blast has given him a lot of insurance.
And he says, you know what? It's safer if I wait. So Wilkerson, he's got a small window, but at the same time, the window, it's very small because if he makes a move, it's like, all right, sacrifice Scalding Target, grindstone you.
Yeah. Arthur has him dead at instant speed.
Gonna spin top. He says, that's fine. Take a look at some cards. Mountain, Bloodstained Mire. Not you. May not be a Bloodstained Mire. Actually looking maybe at Simian Spirit Guide, excuse me. Either way, it's not a blast. Know that much. Yeah, there's the Spirit Guide. And again, you mentioned he has to keep up appearances now. Gonna untap. Gonna take a draw. That's a force. Well, that's the lock.
That's got to do it.
Yeah. There's no way out of it now. With a blast and a force of will, along with the card to remove, grindstone target you. Exile your entire deck. Gonna spin top. Reynolds looks at his hand and says, that's fine. I've got the hard lock here. Hit 1, 2 mountains, 3. As an Imperial Recruiter. And I think, unfortunately for Tyler Wilkerson, that is going to do it. He's going to come to the same conclusion that we have, which is Arthur Reynolds has piloted his deck masterfully here through the quarterfinals. Really knows what's going on.
Yeah, you could tell Arthur was almost positive last turn that he could have gone for it, but the Red Elemental Blast gives him such insurance that there's no real rush, and so he's playing it safe.
Yeah, and there's the extension of the hand. Arthur Reynolds moving on. Defeats Tyler Wilkerson 2-0. Painted Stone off the back of those blue cards. Looking really tough here in the mirror.
Very well navigated there by Arthur. I was impressed.
Yeah.
That guy, I mean, this is not an easy mirror match to navigate by, or mirror-ish match to navigate by any stretch of the imagination, but Arthur seemed very skilled and very comfortable playing it, and he's moving on to the semis.
Other side of the bracket, Andrew Snyder. Blue-Red Delver up a game against Alex Wyatt playing Miracles. Justin Gear will be playing the winner of that match. So we've got Deathblade moving on. We've got Painted Stone moving on. And Reynolds will be playing the winner of Ball in Hand, Storm versus Dead Guy. I wonder which one of those decks he wants to play against.
I would guess he would rather play. Well, let's go check out exactly what's going on with this Deathblade list here. I would imagine he'd rather play against Storm. I mean, it's pretty annoying for him to play against Thoughtseize, Swords to Plowshares, Vindicates. I mean, Arthur's deck is susceptible to just permanents getting destroyed and his hand getting attacked.
Yeah.
Against Storm, he's close to his quick, maybe a little bit slower, but he does have access to Force of Will and other anti-combo cards in his sideboard. So